Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jacob Mag, and I'm just going to be running through my master's thesis today and showing you how AASPI has helped me in this project, which is titled Elucidating Quaternary Channel Evolution Through the Use of High-Resolution 3D Seismic Data, a Sequence Stratigraphic Framework for Quaternary Deposits in the Northern Gulf of Mexico. So to understand how AASPI has helped me in this project, you first need to understand the basis of the project, which is the motivation and objective. So starting with motivation, the motivation is that there is limited subsurface analyses performed on seismically unresolvable quaternary channels on the Gulf of Mexico's inner shelf. So I'm talking about the Brazos and Trinity rivers specifically. And when I say seismically unresolvable, I mean seismically unresolvable by conventional 3D seismic data with that 12 to 25 meter bin size and that 10 to 80 hertz bandwidth. So the objective is I have this high resolution 3D data set, and I'm just attempting to gain a comprehensive understanding of these previously unresolvable quaternary channels in the Northern Gulf of Mexico. So here's our study area and its quaternary geologic setting. So we can see here the study area lies on the Gulf of Mexico's passive margin near the mouth of the Brazos drainage basin, highlighted right here by this small red rectangle. And this area is highly influenced by changes in eustatic sea level, specifically these small fifth order cycles throughout the quaternary period. So I'm going to be mapping and showing you guys incised valleys along unconformities, which formed during sea level low stands. So get into the data that I have here just a little bit, talk about the parameters. It was acquired in 2013. It's a very small survey, as you just saw in the previous slide. It's under 32 square kilometers. Like I said, it has a small bin size, 6.25 by 6.25 meters. So we were able to laterally resolve very small features. And then the most important thing here is the dominant frequency, which is about 170 hertz. So very high frequency. We also have, as expected, a very small sample interval of 0.5 milliseconds. And because it's such high frequency, the survey doesn't go that deep. It's only about 1600 milliseconds. But nonetheless, because of that very high dominant frequency of 170 hertz, we have a vertical resolution of about 2.24 meters. So we're able to see a lot in the subsurface that conventional seismic is not able to see. So I'll run through my workflow here just very shortly. Of course, I got to load the data, inspect it, map our key unconformities, make some surfaces, run attributes, extract those attributes along the surface. And then, like I said, we're looking for incised valleys. So analyze fluvial features. And what we're doing here is we're trying to decide, does the attribute enhance the geology or does it not? If it does not, we're going to discard the attribute. If it does, we're going to move up here and do some unsupervised machine learning. And then from there, we're going to make our geologic interpretations, try to identify architectural elements, interpret lithologic distribution, and do some sequence stratigraphy. You'll see here I have attribute generation highlighted in that red box. That is because that is what I'm going to focus on here, because that is what, of course, AASPI is great at, is attributes. AASPI is also great at machine learning, but unfortunately, I don't have many results to show right now in regards to machine learning, so I will focus on attributes for the rest of this presentation. So the first step in my methods was, of course, to interpret the unconformities. So here's the first inline I'm showing you of my data. This is inline 230. We can see that it is very noisy, as I said, but nonetheless, we're still able to make out some pretty good geology here. We have a bunch of normal faults over here in the southwestern portion. There are some over here in the northeastern too, but they are not shown in this inline. We have a salt diapir, which is just, very common for this part of the Gulf of Mexico, or for all of the Gulf of Mexico for that matter. And then right here in the southwestern portion as well, we have this big gas chimney, which is very fun to work with and try to correlate through. Yes, causes some trouble. So I'll show you later. There is some parts of the survey which I'm not able to correlate through this area. But most importantly, up here in the shallowest part of the survey, we have all these unconformities, which I have mapped here. So you can see that I've mapped 3 unconformities thus far. I have an LUC, an MUC, and a UUC, which stand for lower, middle, and upper unconformities, respectively. So I mapped those out just on the original data set, no altering or anything done to the data, just mapped it on the original data set. And then I found that when slicing through the data in the vertical direction, in the time direction, some work needed to be done. This is high frequency, so it's very noisy, kind of hard to interpret. So I used AASPI to do some spectral balancing. Here we can see at time 110 milliseconds. And up here at the top, we have the original time slice. And then down here at the bottom, we have the spectrally balanced amplitude time slice. So I want you to really look right in here. So if you look at the spectrally balanced down here at the bottom, you can see that we can make out this nice meander in here. If you follow my mouse, we have this nice meandering channel. Even you can track it up over here. But if you try to follow that in the original, not spectrally balanced amplitude, you can see that, well, you kind of can't see, like you can't follow that channel. And so, yeah, this spectral balancing tool in AASPI worked really well to clean this data up and just help my interpretations. So that is the amplitude volume that I used going forward, was that spectrally balanced one. And here I co-rendered it with my time structure map. So here we can see all of these unconformities, my lower, middle, and upper, are very different from one another. Here at the bottom, in our lower unconformity, we have these straight to almost anastomosing channels in some areas, such as in here where my mouse is. And of course, structure is more complex down there. It's deeper. So we have more faults. And then as you go up to our middle unconformity, this system is kind of a meandering to hybrid kind of dendritic fluvial system. So you can see we have this main meandering channel through here if you follow my mouse. And then we also see a lot of this dendritic drainage going on in here. And then we also, of course, I still have some faults. And then once you get up in our shallowest unconformity that I mapped, we can see that this is a completely different system here. We still have like this main channel right here, but I can't make out any clear meanders from the data that I have here. We can see that this is mostly dendritic. We have a lot of this, a lot of these dendritic tributaries here. So when you look at the spectrally balanced amplitude extracted along each of these unconformities, we see a lot of anomalies. So the unfortunate thing about my project is I don't have wells, but I do know from my findings and previous findings that there is a gas cloud, a gas chimney in this area of the survey over here. And we see these negative amplitude anomalies in here, all these white spots, if you will. And these, in my analysis and in previous analysis or analyses, have been associated to gas saturated sands. So thought that was interesting here. You can't see those in the original amplitude volume, but once you spectrally balance it we can see those very well here. So the next attribute that I ran was sweetness, and because sweetness is derived partially from amplitude, kind of see the same thing here. We can still see these amplitude anomalies. Now I think they actually stick out even better. These dark spots here, these high sweetness areas. But the reason I really ran sweetness on this volume was to try to get it lithology, i.e. shale versus sand. Turns out sweetness is maybe not a great attribute for this volume because these deposits that I'm looking at, these channels, are mostly mud to maybe silt filled. Like I said, I don't have wells. That's just what I'm able to tell through my seismic analysis. But we can see here that there's just not enough contrast to really between the floodplain sediments and the channel sediments to really pick up on sweetness. We do see down here in this lower unconformity, we have the kind of the opposite, I guess, of what I would expect. I would expect higher sweetness values in the channel and then lower sweetness values in the floodplain, but we see the opposite down here in this lower unconformity. So that's still being investigated, trying to answer why that is, but just something to mention. So the next attribute that I ran was a edge detector, Silva filter, which is a great attribute. It's very similar to variance and Petrel, but AASPI's similarity attributes do account for dip, so they are a little better. Silva filter is able to pick up things that Petrel's variance is not able to pick up. So in here specifically in my data set, I'm able to pick up really down here in this lower unconformity where we have more complex structure. I'm able to pick up more subtle faults that I was not able to see in just the original amplitude volume. And then of course it helps just in general with other faults and channel edge detection. And the downside to this is being that my data is super high frequency, it is very noisy, and these geometric attributes such as Sobel filter and curvature, which I'm about to show you, they do enhance that acquisition footprint. So you can see it here trending kind of north, west to southeast. And these geometric attributes do enhance it, especially up here in the shallower unconformity. Once you get deeper, not as bad, but definitely up here. So like I said, we see the same thing here. We see a really enhanced acquisition footprint in the shallowest unconformity, but nonetheless, we're still able to better interpret the geology. So this is most positive and most negative curvature. So the negative curvature is, of course, highlighting the centers of the channels, which we can see is all blue through here. And then out here in these tributaries, and of course in the center of these channels. And then our positive curvature is highlighting levees where of course there are levees along the channel's margins. So it's very good for these fluvial features, and it also, of course, is highlighting these faults very well. You can see in here like this fault, this fault, this fault. So what does all this do for me? Well, basically AASPI has just my project is very geology heavy. It has a lot, it's very sequence stratigraphy heavy. But AASPI has really helped me in bringing these geologic features in my volume to light to where I'm able to make better, more precise interpretations. So where this project is going is I am looking at these channels morphology and just trying to understand how they are impacted by whatever sea level is doing. And then, of course, I'm doing a bunch of interpretations like this. And then I am relating these unconformities, which we know happened during a sea level low stand, I'm relating them to this sea level curve from the quaternary period, goes all the way back to 400,000 years. And I'm just trying to see basically when these unconformities occurred, and then try to fill in the gaps a little bit here. And then there's a bunch of published literature on this area and the Brazos River Delta and the Trinity River Delta. And I'm just trying to basically put together a story here and make the geomorphology in the subsurface make sense in this area in the Gulf of Mexico. So AASPI has been very, very helpful in me just understanding the geology in this area. So that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for listening.